fellow students. My name is Sincere Adams, and I'll be doing my ecosystem stability project over environmental changes and ecological succession. Today, I'll be investigating how ecosystems change over time due to natural and human-induced factors, including primary and secondary succession. I'll also be studying the causes and effects of ecosystem disruption, including natural disasters, pollution, habitat destruction, and climate change. Okay, so let's get started. For starters, we're going to start off on explaining pretty much how natural environmental changes can, impact biodiversity. For starters, natural changes are changes in the environment, or just like alterations in which ecosystems that occur, alterations in ecosystems that just occur without direct human intervention, which means humans didn't do this and it just happened naturally. Think that's self-explanatory. But for starters, we have an example of this. We have the Yellowstone National Park's 1988 wildfire. 1988 wildfire. Okay. This wildfire triggered secondary succession, and if you're wondering what secondary succession is the process by which an ecosystem regrows after a disturbance such as a fire or a hurricane. So when these little fires happen, and there's nothing but debris left. After this, another ecosystem was able to form, creating biodiversity, such as new plants were coming to this ecosystem, new animals were coming to this area, and that increased biodiversity, making this ecosystem more diverse. But this is how it created. It created through secondary succession, through a destruction of a habitat to create a new one. This secondary succession eventually, promoted biodiversity, created new species, which colonized the area. Also, speaking of secondary succession, you should know what primary succession means too. Primary succession happens when a new patch of land is created or exposed for the first time. A good example of primary succession would be like a volcano. When a volcano erupts, lava spreads an area which can cause land, and that can create a whole new patch of land, which would be for the first time. So, for example, any piece of land, any land monument, not land monument, just like area that I think Hawaii, for example. Hawaii is an example. I think how Hawaii was created by a volcano. But stuff like that, volcanoes and things of that nature can create land, Next example of our natural change would be hurricane. And one of the biggest hurricanes I can think of is Hurricane Katrina, which took place in 2005. Happened in the Louisiana Gulf Coast area, It destroyed coastal wetlands, leading to habitat loss and reduced species diversity. So this is just what the hurricane looked like geographically. On a map, this is what the hurricane would look like if you were just tracking it. This is like debris. This is what happened to it. This is how it affected the environment. Can you see this? I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. Yeah, you can see, but yeah, this is pretty much how it looks like. It looked like after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. All right. That's that. Now we're gonna transfer over to human-induced changes. And human-induced environmental changes are just specifically, or just simply, changes that were created by humans, which is the exact opposite of naturally, because humans intervene to make this thing happen. Alright, for example, we have habitat destruction. Habitat destruction in the Amazon rainforest, which would be habitat destruction in the Amazon rainforest would be deforestation. I don't know if you can see this right here. I don't know if you can clearly see this, but basically this is the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest is most commonly known as the lungs of the earth. I maybe should have got a bigger picture, but it's just like it really wraps around the whole South America, things of that nature. This is another picture of the Amazon rainforest. But this is an impact or effect of deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. See, and I got a chart over here. Amazon rainforest highest since 2000. It pretty much decreased over the last decade or so, but it was at its highest in like 2000. Reaching about 30,000 rate of square kilometers of deforestation here. But yeah, so the habitat destruction in the Amazon rainforest, it reduced carbon storage, leading to biodiversity loss and climate instability. Amazon rainforest is like a tropical type of region, and it's tropical mainly because of the amount of wildlife and the amount of plants that live in that area. You know what I'm saying? So without these trees, deforestation, if you don't know what deforestation is basically the destruction of trees, basically. And with all that that basically can just hinder biodiversity loss. If you haven't picked up on what biodiversity is basically the different species that live and reside in one ecosystem. And once the deforestation occurred in the Amazon rainforest, the biodiversity immediately is lost. And this goes for wildfires and hurricanes. If a great event that hinders the ecosystem stability, the biodiversity will go downhill as well. You know what I'm saying? Just like the hurricane, it destroyed everything pretty much, and it took a lot to rebuild. Biodiversity was very greatly hindered because there's a lot of there's a great population loss. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So yeah, that pretty much stretches that. Natural and human-induced environmental changes, they impact biodiversity and long-term ecosystem stability. Depending on pretty much how can I say this, how wild the event was per se, But there's go down here to deforestation. Deforestation, I've already covered this pretty much, but deforestation can impact biodiversity as well, and in the Amazon rainforest, heavily in the Amazon rainforest. In the Amazon rainforest, habitat loss, species can be extinct, and like I said, it can decline in carbon absorption. The consequence of this would be a loss of keystone species, which would disrupt food webs by, per se, let's say, if trees are no longer available for herbivores, because it's primary consumers, secondary consumers, but it first starts with producers. And in this case, trees will be producers because trees, they produce their own food. So if the trees were to be killed off and there wouldn't be any more trees, then primary consumers wouldn't be able to feed on the trees, which will decline the primary consumers, and will also decline the secondary consumers, making the whole ecosystem just fall apart. Because if the producers can't feed the primary consumers, then the primary consumers are going to decline in population, which would ultimately make the secondary consumers decline as well, which is just ultimately just the getting rid of the whole ecosystem pretty much. Also, soil erosion increases, leading to a reduced fertility and further habitat degradation. So when this happens, once this deforestation occurs, there's not really more of a chance that more trees can sprout from the soil, because of all the burn down and chop down of the trees just excessively being destroyed. Also, like I said, this can reduce biodiversity. This makes ecosystem less resilient to disturbances. This means